In this lecture, we will discuss about the subjects and predicates. What is the roles of subjects and predicates in a sentence? How these two parts are necessary in a sentence. No sentences must always include both a subject and a predicate. The subject of a clause or a sentence is the noun. Noun may be a person, place, or thing that performs, controls, or is responsible for the action of a verb. Okay, it is a role of subject. No, the predicate. Predicate is made up of at least one finite verb, the action of which is performed or controlled by the subject. Main doer of the sentence is subject, and predicate is the action of a subject. Now, first of all, we will discuss about the subject. The subject usually appears before its verb and is made up of at least one noun, any grammatical element functioning as a noun or a pronoun standing in a place of a noun. For example, here is are some examples. No computers can process numbers very quickly. A boy I know owns a motorcycle. Someone ate my cake. Swimming is great exercise. No, you can see computers, a boy I know, someone, swimming, these all are subjects. No, in first example, computer is represent to noun. In another example, a boy I know, it is a noun phrase because boy is a noun. Someone ate my cake. Someone is pronoun. Swimming is great exercise. Swimming is a gerund. So these are several other types of grammatical constructions that can be used as the subject of a sentence or clause, as well as instances in which the subject's position in relation to the verb changes. To learn more, continue on to the next section in this chapter. No, we will discuss about the predicate. In addition to a finite verb, the predicate can also, but does not always, include participles, objects, complements, and modifiers. In most cases, the predicate comes after the subject in a sentence or clause. Okay, predicate when comes after subject and in a sentence. Okay, although some parts of the predicate, especially adverbial modifiers, can sometimes appear before the subject. Here are some examples with the predicate in a bold color. I refuse. Okay, parts of the predicate. I refuse. Refuse. Intransitive verb, finite verb in the present simple tense. I refuse. Okay. My family loves going to the beach each summer. Loves transitive finite verb in the present simple tense. You can see. Going to beach gerund phrase acting as direct object of the verb loves each summer. Adverbial phrase modifying the verb phrase loves going to the beach. No, we will see another example. In school, we are learning about the American Revolution. In school, adverbial prepositional phrase acting as a modifier of the present participle learning are infinite auxiliary verb used with the present participle learning to create the present continuous tense. Okay, learning here is a present participle, a type of noun, finite, used with the auxiliary verb finite verb are to form the present continuous tense. About the American Revolution, prepositional phrase functioning as the direct object of the present participle of learning. To learn more about forming and determining predicate, as well as the various grammatical elements that can be included. Okay. Now the subject. First of all, we will explain about the subject. Definition. The subject in a sentence or clause is the person or thing doing, performing, or controlling the action of the verb. Okay. Every sentence requires a subject and a verb to be complete. Without a subject, we would have an action being done by no one or nothing, simply happening on its own, which cannot happen. The only exception to this is in imperative sentences, in which the subject is implied, as in do your homework. Okay, these are the imperative sentences. Now, the formation of subjects. Only that which has a grammatical function of a noun can be the subject of a clause. This is because it is someone or something that is capable of performing or controlling the action of the verb. This function can be performed by each of the following. Now, we will see some examples. Nouns. Computers can process numbers very quickly. Noun phrases. A boy I know owns a motorcycle. Pronoun. Someone ate this cake. Gerund's. Swimming is great exercise. Gerund phrases. Traveling the world has been my lifelong dream. Okay. Gerund phrase. Traveling. Okay. Travel plus ing. Okay. It became the gerund phrase. Infinitives. To err is human. To forgive is divine. Infinite phrases. To fall in love can be both wonderful and tragic. Noun clauses. Whoever knows the truth should come forward. Dummy pronouns. There is nothing we can do for him. No. Now we will see the some positions of the subject. As we can see in the above example, the subject most typically occurs at or near the beginning of a clause, preceding the main verb that describes the action of the clause, known as a finite verb. Auxiliary questions. When auxiliary questions or verbs are used to make questions, interrogative sentences without question words, then the subject comes between the auxiliary verb and the main verb. For example, is hiking your favorite activity? Did Mary come by yesterday? Have you heard this song before? Passive voice. The role of subject in passive voice. The examples we have seen so far have been of sentences in the active voice, meaning the subject of a clause sentence is also the agent of the verb's action. Sentences in the passive voice, however, create a bit of confusion. Okay, there is a different situation of subject. Structurally, the object of the verb's action becomes the grammatically subject of the clause, while the proper subject the agent of the action becomes modifying information. For example, Jack is reading the book Activos. But in the another example, the book is being read by Jack Passivus. No, you can see Jack, the main doer. But here in another example, it is silent. Jack. Okay. In the first sentence, Jack is both the subject of the sentence and the agent of verb, the reading. In the second sentence, the book is no the subject of the sentence, the agent of the verb's action. Jack becomes the object of the prepositional phrase by Jack, okay, which modifies the verb is being read. Now we will see subject-verb agreement. Subject-verb agreement refers to using certain conjugations of verbs with singular subjects and different conjugations with plural subjects. This happens most noticeably with the verb to be, which becomes is or was with singular subject, nouns and are or were with plural subject. For example, my brother is back from college. My brother, singular present simple tense. Okay, my brother, singular subject and singular here is a verb. The company was in financial trouble. Singular past simple tense. Okay, and singular subject and singular verb. My people are frustrated with the government. Plural present simple tense. Okay, many people. Okay, many people is a plural subject and are verb is a plural. No. Further, computers were rather old. Plural past simple tense. Subject and verb, they are equal. For any other verb, we only need to make a change if it is in the present simple tense. For most verbs, it is accomplished by adding an s to the end if it is singular and leaving it in its base form if it is plural. For example, you can say, my father runs his own business. My father, a subject father, main doer. Runs means singular. S, when we add s, it represents for singular. But his sons run it when he is away, plural. Mean son is singular. When we add s, it became plural. Okay, and we does not add s with run, so it remains singular. The dog wags his tail when he is happy. Okay, wags. Dog wags. Okay, his tail. It is a singular. Dogs sometimes wag their tails when they are angry or scared. Plural. The verb have and do also only conjugate for singular subjects in the present simple tense, but they have irregular forms for this has and does. For example, there are some examples. The apple has a mark on it, singular. Apple is singular subject and has a singular possessive verb, helping verb, to represent the ownership of apple. All the apples have marks on them. Okay, there are apples, all apples. The subject is a plural, so we have verb also plural have. My teacher does not think it is a good idea. My teacher, singular subject. And if we use do, only do, it represents to plural. We add yes, it becomes singular verb. The other teachers do not mind the talk. No other teachers plural. Do we add for a verb. No. Finally, the modern auxiliary verbs will, would, shall, should, can, could, might, must, and ought do not conjugate for singular or plural subjects. They always remain the same. For instance, this phone can also surf the internet. No, most phones can do that. No, plural. Mean the auxiliary verbs represent to both singular and plural. The president will arrive in Malta next week. The other diplomats will arrive shortly after that. Okay. Now you can see these are examples. These are verbs, auxiliary verbs represent to both singular and plural. Subject pronouns. Pronouns stand in for a person or thing we are speaking about or referring to. They are used to avoid repetition in speech or writing. The personal pronouns in the subjunctive case I, you, he, she, it, we, and they can act as substitutes for the subject of the clause or sentence. In this instance, they are known as subject pronouns. For example, John is running late, but he is almost ready. The pronoun "he" replaces the noun "Jack" in the clause "he is almost ready." No, another. The book is on the table. It is just over there. Now, in this example, you see it. The book is a non-person noun, so it can be substituted with the pronoun "it" in the subsequent clause or sentence. For non-living things, we use "it" as a pronoun. The questions words how and what can also act as subject pronouns of the sentence or clause. For example, how is going to the party later? What just happened? They form what are known as subject questions. We will look at these a little more in depth later on. Other pronouns. There are other pronouns in English that can act as the subjects of clauses or sentences. Indefinite pronouns, for example, are used in place of pronouns without specifying a particular person or thing that is being represented, as in everyone is waiting for the party to begin. The action of waiting, okay, is being done by everyone because it is a indefinite pronoun. Here is we do not represent a specific person. We talk about anyone about whom I don't know. Okay. I have 5 teachers, but only one is writing me a recommendation. Okay. The action of writing is being done by one. Nobody told me about this. The action of told was done by nobody. Mean nobody. Now we will discuss about some common subject errors. Because the subject can be so widely varied in English, a number of errors can arise about how to correctly use a subject in a sentence. Let us look at some common errors that occur. Subject-verb agreement error. Unfortunately, there are many opportunities for confusion as to when to omit the S when conjugating a verb for subject-verb agreement. Remember, we only need the S when using the present simple tense in affirmative, non-negative sentences, and when we using subjects and that are in the third person. For example, first person, I live in Paris. In crop, I live in Paris. I also represent to singular, singular, first person. We use S with singular, but for third person, not for first person I. Okay, so we will not use S with I. Second person, you lives in Paris. In you live in Paris. Okay, sorry. You live in Paris. We do not use S for you in second person. No third person. He lives in Paris. It is incorrect because we will use S with he because it represents to a third person. He lives in Paris. It is a correct example. No irregular plurals. Here are some other examples of subject-verb errors with third person, singular and third person plural. People lives here. Incorrect. People live here. Live here. People represent a group of people. People use for group. People not represent to a single person. So we will not use S with people. The children is playing outside. Incorrect. Because child is singular. No. Further we see. The children are playing outside. No, you can see. Children represent to plural. Plural noun. Child is singular. So a person singular lives while people live. A child is a singular. Okay, playing. While children plural are playing. We can have one person or one child, but we have 2, 3, 10, many people or children. So these are known as irregular plurals because they do not follow the normal rule of making a noun plural by adding an s or es, okay, to the end. Nevertheless, they still require the correct third person verb conjugations as with any other noun. So Indefinite Indefinite pronouns can sometimes cause confusion because many seem to be referring to a group of people or things and so should take third person plural verb when in fact they require third person singular verb. For example, if everyone have a television, incorrect. Everyone has a television. Mostly indefinite pronouns take singular verb. The indefinite pronoun everyone refers to each single person. It does not refer to a group, but instead to separate individuals, so it therefore requires a third person singular verb. For examples that take third person singular verb include no one, nobody, someone, somebody, anyone, anybody. Other indefinite pronouns use qualifying information that can make subject-verb confusing. For example, we see further example. One of my students have gone to England. Incorrect. One of my students has gone to England is correct. Why? Why? Because we are not talking about the students. Okay. We are talking about one person. Okay. One of my students. Okay. One student of many students has gone to England. Okay. In instances like this, the auxiliary verb have should be conjugated with the indefinite pronoun one singular instead of students plural. One is functioning as the subject of the sentence while of my students is an adjectival prepositional phrase that describes it. Here is some similar example. Each person studies individually. Incorrect. Each person studies individually. Each person mean there are many persons, thousand, hundred, million, billion, trillion. But each person, we are talking about each person. Mean okay. So he studies individually. Okay. Because each is paired with the word person, which it modifies, it implies a group of people. Or like one this subject had to take a third person singular verb. Double subject error. No, we must be careful to avoid using a pronoun as a double subject in the same clause. We only use a pronoun as a subject when it refers to the subject in a different clause. Okay, for example, my brother, he speaks English. Incorrect. Because my brother speaks English. We don't need to put he. He speaks English. Okay. If we use subject third person, then we don't need to use my brother. My country, it is very beautiful. It is wrong because my country is very beautiful. No, my country is a subject. My country is enough to represent a subject. If we use it is very beautiful, then it is also correct because it it is a complete subject. So this my car cost me a lot of money. Incorrect. Because why? Because we use this also as a subject and my car. My car cost me a lot of money. My car. Okay. My car. It is a complete subject. If we use this cost me a lot of money, then also it is a complete subject. So omission of the subject. We occasionally use what is known as a dummy pronoun to function as a subject in a clause. The two dummy pronouns in English are there and it, and they do not have antecedents the way proper pronouns do because they don't refer to a concrete element semantically. It can seem like they should be omitted in certain circumstances, but we must be careful to always include them where necessary. For example, I think is going to rain. Wrong. I think it is going to rain. Okay. Why? Because we need it here to represent rain. I think it is a complete sense, but there is no any subject in first example to represent rain. In the first example, there is no subject before is. We always need a subject before the verb when we talk about the weather, time, speed, distance, or things. We usually the dummy pronoun it as the subject of the clause. There are two kinds of dummy subject we can see here. They, there, and it. Okay. There is an example. Is anything I can help you with? Think. Is there anything I can help you with? In the first example, we do not know what the speaker wants to help with because there is no subject. In this case, we use there as a subject to make the sentence complete. Okay. As you see, is anything? It is a not complete sense. Is there anything? It is a complete sense. No subject before auxiliary verbs in questions. When we form questions, the subject of sentence still comes before the main verb. However, if an auxiliary verb is being used to predict the question, it is also important to remember that the subject comes after the auxiliary verb. For instance, where does work Mary? Incorrect. Where Mary does work. Okay. After the question mark, we will use quickly the verb. Mean verb does. As you can see, where does Mary work? Okay. We will use subject with after does. You do speak English? No. Do you speak English? It is correct. Subject question error. In a subject question in which the subject is implied by the question, we do not usually add the auxiliary verb do in the same way as in normal question. For instance, what did happen last night? Less common, only used for emphasis when trying to determine what happened versus what did not happen. What happened last night? Much more common. Since the subject is already in the question, we don't have to use an auxiliary verb. When we use a subject question in the past simple tense, the verb needs to be used in the past tense too. This is because the auxiliary verb did the past tense of do is absent. Normal questions were subject. To better understand this, let us look at a comparison between a normal question and a subject question. First, let us look at two statements. I saw Mary. Okay, I saw Mary and he saw me. If we are asking a question to which sentence A was the answer, it would be a normal question. No, see, how did you see? I saw Mary. The subject in the normal question you corresponds to the subject in the answer I. Since this is a normal question, we use the auxiliary verb did to form the past tense of the main verb see. If we are asking a question to which sentence B was the answer, it would be the subject question. No. How saw you? Any saw me. Here, how the question word is what corresponds to the subject in the response any. You is the direct object of the verb saw, which is put in the past tense because we do not use the auxiliary verb did. It corresponds to me in the response, which is also the direct object of saw. So, it was the lecture on subject. We will discuss predicate and what is predicate, how it forms and how it works in next lecture. Thank you for watching.